All right, guys, we're live on Survivor Global, and we're doing a retrospect today with Luke Toki, the king of the jungle, the people's champion, the boss man. Luke, how are you?
I'm good. Every time I hear that entrance, it never gets old, you know?
Well, Luke, it's amazing to have you on the podcast. You know, when we put this team together to do this podcast, I had one person on my list with Adam that I said, this person is number one of any Survivor US, any Survivor Australia, any Survivor South Africa. I need to see Luke Toki on the podcast because you are personally one of my favorite players to ever play the game. I saw you come back in the season and I was so nervous for you being the only returning player playing this season. And how was that? Tell us, like, when they pitched this idea to you, to come back and play the game again, were you aware you were going to be the only player coming back in the season, or did you think there were going to be more people coming back?
Look, I deep inside, I believed I was potentially going to be the only person, but I wasn't 100%. I knew that it was, going to be. I think it was going to be some sort of like, champions, versus normal people. I'm pretty sure that's what I remember. But it was, I didn't know there was going to be, for all I know, there was going to be two, and we're going to be on each side maybe. So, say for instance, like I could have been on the champions and someone could have been on the contenders. I didn't know if we're going to be coaches. I didn't know what it was going to be. So when I did, walk out with my tribe and see everybody, obviously I didn't see anyone that I had noticed before. So, that was how it went down. So I was kind of, to be honest, I actually thought I was going to get voted out pretty quick. I just thought I was going to be a target basically off the fact that, like, how often do you see someone that's laying under a branch, and if you've done your research playing the game, you'd be like, well, this guy legit laid under a branch near the well. Like, how many people and players would actually do that? If they knew that the opportunity arose that they could lay under a branch near a well to get some information, how many Survivor players would actually do it? So naturally I thought, well, this guy's will do whatever it takes to win or to get as far as he can in the game. So I thought, well, they're going to try to just target me instantly, which nearly did happen to some degree. As much as we're getting rid of the weakest, we did fall on the opposite side of the numbers. And who's to say, one or two more votes down the line, if we weren't able to flip that majority that we were voted out. And me and Dave are gone, and then there's the total different season. You would have ended up with a total different season. Maybe a season like season one where it's a mateship season,
Yeah, 100%. And you guys, both you and David, were such big parts of the season, and you really drove the strategy. You brought all of the excitement. We early on see you having, you pull Ross over to the dark side. You have Banana with him at nighttime to try and get him to just be his inner kid. And you very smartly, and I remember Adam watching this with me, and Adam said that's the episode where he realized he likes Luke as well. The episode where you pull him aside. And how much of this is a credit to having played with the Cookie Monster before and pulling some of the shenanigans that he also did with you in the first season, because you guys had the cookies at nighttime?
Yeah, look, of course, you can find your larrikin, I think, deep down in everyone if they can feel comfortable enough. We got Baden. I don't know. You've watched the whole thing. How deep are you? The whole thing?
Me or Adam? Adam's watched the whole thing, and I've watched the whole thing. I've watched it now. Well, this is my third time watching yours this season.
So finding the larrikin in someone was pretty easy, because especially with Ross. So I don't know if it didn't ever show, but I actually put Ross's name forward to be voted out first, straight away. That was before Anastasia and before Pia's name got thrown around. I was trying to go for Ross because the first night we were there, it was like I picked up that I gauged that he might be annoying people, and I didn't know he was a big wave surfer. And so he was like, I would sit there and I would lay a frond down, like to lay on, and he actually pulled it underneath me, like because he wanted to lay on it. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy stealing my frond? And then he was like chucking all the fronds on the fire, and he was just being an absolute crazy. And naturally, I thought, well, I'm gonna be a target. This guy's already annoying people. Maybe I should push for that way, But obviously I read the situation a little bit wrong, and it started going those ways. And then it came out that I had put Ross's name forward. And so what I did was I went and approached Ross straight away. I said, hey, because it looks like it's already made it to it. Like he knows about it now. So I actually went over to him and said, hey, man, like I put your name forward. I was just picking up that everyone was, I thought everyone was getting annoyed at you. I didn't rah. We had a laugh about it. And he's like, man, I appreciate you coming up and telling me. I already knew, like the camp knew, so you might as well just address the elephant in the room. And he liked that so much that we, started talking. And then as soon as the talking started happening, we became quite good mates. And the same happened with my first season with Ken. I tried to vote Ken out. I came back, had a laugh, giggle, and and he was like, and then me and Ken were really, really close. Like, I think that's probably one of my biggest strengths in the game is I'm able to, repair relationships very, very quickly, and sometimes repair them that it even makes it stronger. Like such a strong thing that works and lasts longer even, So that me and Ross situation, I don't know where the end could have ended up with that. That could have been a final two, down the track. You never know. Like, it's just unfortunate he got dropped out.
And he sounded like he really wanted to take you all the way to the final as well. The episode where we see him sadly being medevaced out of the season, he talks about the fact that he hopes Luke wins it, and he wanted to go all the way with you. And he seemed to be someone that was just there for the fun of the game more so than to be the sole survivor. So I feel like he could have been a very good ally, especially towards the end where you were finding it hard to have someone there that could be an ally for you towards the pointy end of the game that would want to see you in the final. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you, because definitely I noticed that, seeing your first season and seeing your second season, that your second season, you did focus a lot more, and probably you did in the first season as well, but the show really sort of made a point of it to say that you were focusing on that social relationships, creating strong friendship bonds, where in the first season you're seen as wanting to go against the grain sometimes and make big moves only, and that being a big twist. But there's a lot of conversation between especially from Pia's point of view, talking about the fact that she had a really close relationship with you on the island, and that she felt like she was one of those three girls that were the closest to you. And that three girls, in that tight three alliance, who would you say was the person that throughout the game you were probably the closest to?
Ooh, that's a close one. It's like nearly saying that you can only have one best friend, that has to be your best friend. You're not allowed to have two best friends. Like, I really think that, like, me and Pia were, like personally, I don't know how she thinks, but from day one, when her name got thrown as she was going, and I did it with Joan as well. Like, I went, I was ready to go for rocks for Joan, and I only met Joan 1 day or 2 days. But because I know that, say for instance like this, like if you have 10 friends and you're stuck in a situation where it's an emergency or something, and or you say for instance you go to jail or something, and your 10 friends don't contact you, but you get one letter from your one friend, and he messages and emails or puts $5 in your account. Now, when you get out, you're always going to remember that one person, and that's what happened with Pia. Is when she actually, her name, it looked like she was going. I found that out, and I ran up to her, and I was like, look, it looks like it's going to be you. I was like, there was an island. I was like, I'll run over there right now and search the shit out of that. Like, I'll sit there. We need to do some crazy shit. And I don't think she, had that reaction for anyone after day 1, day 2, to come in that crazy and willing to put their own game on the line just to save her, But I was like, let's do it. And then that's when she was like, ran back, changed it to Anastasia by talking to Nova and doing that. So she really went on her own and made that effort. Because some people just freeze when it's them. They don't do any work to go change it. They just freeze and, they get upset, or they might get upset. That's it. That's probably the worst thing. They get upset and go accuse people for throwing their names out rather than trying to convince the numbers to save them, if that makes any sense. And
100%,
find a different target. So she took the information that I gave her. She went and made some really great moves and without, because that's the best part of Pia's game. Is she's like me. We don't get upset when we get blindsided. We don't sit there and turn on people. In our head, we're like, screw you. But we don't show it. We don't show it. Like, we're like, yeah, nah, sweet as, But deep down, we're like, fuck, if I get the chance, you're gone, But we kind of are able to definitely keep calm, in a situation like that, and just be because we know it's detrimental to the game. So when to roll it all back to the girls, is my relationship started with Pia day one, and when it got to that end stage, it actually was a very hard thing to want to turn on Abby, because Abby's kind of, we really did a really good move, and she trusted me to jump aboard with Baden and Harry, which I've been setting up as a jump across move, and I brought her over at the right time. And so when it came to that, me and Abby came really, really close as well, and when it came to that last moment, it was just down to who do I think has got a better chance to beat the challenge against. And I thought, well, Pia wasn't good at most challenges because she's just a lot smaller than everybody. It's harder to verse a stronger male that can be dominant, or even someone like Abby that's a bloody professional athlete. So at that point of that game, I decided to just go for glory and turn on Abby as a I feel like I have better chance of beating Baden, Harry, or thinking of Abby, because Abby, even the last challenge, she stuck with me. It was me and her going rope to rope. She actually passed me at one stage down to the puzzles. She actually passed me. I was like, holy shit, and I'm going hammer and tong. So when I turned on Abs, that was just it was nothing to do with no relationship breakdowns, nothing to do with that. I called her taking out the trash. I think that was which then I've really tried to make it like Harry, but that was just, that was just good fun. What I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So look, if I can't flip a coin, I think, to be honest, even to this day, I feel like I could speak to Abby and speak to Pia any day of the week and ask for help, or vice versa. So, and I think they're both actually really good players, in their own retrospect. No one is the same player, but in their own game, in their own way, both of them are actually extremely good. What are those good? They've chosen them very well, as in, you can only choose your contestants as good as they think they say what they're going to say in the game. But when they actually go out there and play, they actually did play.
Yeah. To jump in here, Luke, do you have time for one more quick question?
Yeah. Keep them rolling.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. I was really happy with this season, and just to give you an idea, this was my first. Like, Chris is a big international Survivor guy. This was my first time being exposed, and I'm hooked now. I want to watch them all. And I was really happy that we had such a deserving winner in the end. Because I think, as good as a season can be, if the winner isn't deserving, or you weren't happy with the winner, it can kind of make the season not feel worth it. But I think with Pia, she was definitely a deserving winner. So I wanted to ask, why did she get your vote? And I love the question that you asked her at Tribal Council. Did the answer she give, were you happy with that answer? Did that sway your vote at all?
What did I ask her? It's been a while,
Yeah, I remember you asked. you had said that you saved her a couple of times, and she had the opportunity to save you and didn't.
Yeah.
So you said, why should she get your vote?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just wanted to try to look. We all know the emotions of the game is hard, especially that final five. You really start, knowing that you're taking away the end from someone. I would have loved to go to fire. I feel like I would have bloody smoked Baden, and it would have also given me an opportunity to show that, like, holy shit, this guy can make fire quick. That's my own personal opinion. I might have not even been able to make fire and he beat me. But my own opinion is the one thing that, if you can ask everyone, is the survival side of Survivor is I have been on the forefront of, catching sharks, bringing back food, catching fish, doing the shelter, doing oki pots, making spears, bringing back, like, just the Survivor, like the fire, all that type of stuff has been like, I never shy away from that. I lived in the ocean when it was pissing down rain and I'm out there in the water while everyone's trying to huddle under a bloody tree, And so when it came to, like, the question with her was kind of like, let's just see if she can navigate that question without coming off like Jericho, like calling me a fucking reindeer, like, let's see if she can come out of that question without being so abrasive and actually show that it was a hard decision, and at least just articulate it well to some degree, because I think it's a hard question to be put on the spot, she did really well,
So her answer, I don't know if you,
she buttered me up,
Yeah, her answer was a really good one, because she sort of mentioned, that taking you out was, for her personally, felt like, she had to stay in that challenge for 6 hours and 20 minutes to make it worth it for her to get to the end to actually win it, because she felt like, that was because you guys were so close. She had to make it a really big move there at the end. So I thought she definitely answered that really well and showed why she got a unanimous vote at the end, right? So
yeah, well, exactly. And you know what? Her standing down before Baden, she read the play. She read the play. With my situation, is this, if I win that challenge and I boot out Harry next, and I go to the end with Baden, Pierre, or even if it did it the opposite and voted out Baden, I wasn't too sure whether I was going to vote out Baden or Harry. But I felt like I went for bloody glory, and I had 4 immunities, and I took out my biggest threat, which I thought was Abby in the challenge, which the challenge was actually set up, it was unfortunate the challenge wasn't a puzzle, or it wasn't something that was like whoever can last the longest, as much as it was whoever can put the last ball in wins. Because physically, not one person on those challenges could have made 4 balls continually going. There was no way. It was actually made so as soon as you put the 4th ball in, you physically can't run around and do 4 balls. So it was whoever put the last ball in won.
I saw that.
And that was bullshit. It should have been something that, like, was a puzzle or an equalizer, not just who can put the last ball in wins. And that's where I feel like, was that tested that well? How many people do you know could run and do those 4 balls? I'd love to know. Let's do it. Let's do a trial, because I feel like no one, not even probably Usain Bolt, could do 4 in a row and continue to make 4 in a row. I just physically don't think it's possible. So I put the ball in first, then Baden put it in, and Harry did. So if I'd won that one, I would have had 5 immunities, right? And then if I won the next one, there's 6 immunities. And then would that be the record? And then I would have won the game, and then I would have been the king of the jungle. You're
still the king of the jungle. Let's be honest here. You're only one king of the jungle. But I do want to sort of ask you, and like, I feel like, if we didn't ask this question while we've got you on here, like, fans will be coming at us, and I don't want that. You're the king of the jungle. You're the master at doing the Spy Shack. Did you do a bit of a throwback here to one of the greats over in the US Survivor? And are you a fan of the US Survivor as well as Australian Survivor?
Yeah. Of course. I feel like now Survivor's just it's enriched my life, in every aspect. And I have now started watching South Africa. I've watched the New Zealand's, I've watched them, so I've watched their season. I follow a lot of them. I've also now started following a lot of the South African. I'm not big in. I'm not trying to say I'm bigger than the game or anything. I like the game, and you know what? And I love new contenders. I love new contestants, breeding new life. Some players got voted out. There's one player that I still remember. I can't remember. It was an American season. Oh, what was his name? He was looking for an idol clue in the rice, and he put it all in his sock, and he got voted out straight away. There was a guy, and then he put all the rice back, and I was like, oh, he put all that dirty ass rice in his sock, and then everyone had to eat it. Now, as disgusting and as bad as that was, I remember it, And I'm thinking, I would have loved to see him go further because of that type of TV. Like, how can you not like good TV? Someone that does shit that's just different. And isn't a robot, or isn't, the confessionals are just funny and, and stuff like that. So I love the game, how it can breed new players, new personalities, because, we're how many people live on this planet? Like billions or whatever,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? No, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like, we have so many more people to see, and I feel bad for everyone that gets voted out first, because you never get to see their game.
100%. And some of the better players might have gotten voted out early in some of these seasons. And like you said, you never see them play it in full. And you mentioned Survivor South Africa. Now, I'm originally from South Africa. I'm from Cape Town in South Africa. And I had Jacques Burger on the podcast earlier today. And we were actually recapping your season. And we talked about you being a bit of he called you, I feel like, a six-pronged threat on there, and did a bit of an analysis of your game. So I'll see if I can link it to you if you're ever interested in watching that little bit there. And he goes in specifically a little bit about the behind the scenes of the production team, and he says that a lot of these production people that do these shows, you can actually see that they've got jackets on with it states what specific seasons they've been involved in, and it might be heroes versus villains and things like that. So there's a lot of people, he said, that they work across. So one of the things this sort of brings up is that, I know that, you've done this twice. You've probably gotten a lot out of this already. And we know that after the season, Australia fell that in love with you, that they, that the GoFundMe thing for you and everything. So you got a lot from this show so far. But if there was ever like another season that you could come back in, and it is like an international themed season where you've got the best of South Africa, the best of the US, the best of Australia, would you be keen on something like that?
I'll flog them all. I would love to smash some Americans. I'd love to smash some New Zealanders and South Africans. Sorry, Chris, but I would I go in hard. Like when it comes to challenges, when it comes to the game, do you know what? Like if I get voted out early, sweet as it happens. There's nothing I can do about it sometimes, but I know that I feel like. Yeah, like I'm not too bad at the game. Like I feel like I'm not too bad at the game, and I definitely, I'd welcome it with open arms, I'd love to smash some of those Americans that think they're the best in the world, I'd love to just bring some Aussie beef to the game, because that last game I came in quite I was a bit fat, if anything. Hadn't trained because my daughter was in hospital and stuff. So I was doing a lot of like trips in the car, a lot of, just spending a lot of time running around without training. But somehow I still did all right in it as well,
Yeah, no, and you look like a different person at the end of the season. Probably helps coming in with a bit of extra body weight when you're doing the show that's like 50 days. Oh, we might have lost them there for a second. It's been great talking to Luke up until this point. Hopefully we get him back here in a second. Charismatic as ever when it comes to these answers. How do you feel, Adam, with seeing Luke going up against some of the US sort of survivors? How do you think he'd do?
Yeah, no, I'd love to see it. It's weird because he feels a bit more like if I had to compare it to US, I feel like he fits more in like the old school Survivor realm. Like as far as his style of gameplay, it's weird because his gameplay in championship in contenders actually reminded me a good bit of Tony's too in Winners at War. He kind of came in obviously with a big target, started off a little slow. I mean, he was beefing himself up in the confessionals and whatnot, but when you saw him at camp, he definitely was taking it easy, was keeping his name out of the spotlight, and timing is everything. Like you can do all these big moves and these flashy moves, but the good survivors know when to do them. And I feel like that's what he utilized well. So, and I know Tony obviously is a more new school player, but I think Luke focusing a lot on putting all of his effort into the challenges, building like social relationships. Obviously there was plenty of strategy with Luke, and I'm sure there was tons of conversations that we didn't get a chance to see. But it seemed his strategy was based a lot on like the social politics of the show and positioning and timing, and the survival aspect of it. So he reminded me kind of more of an old school player. So it'd be interesting seeing him. So what I'm trying to say is I feel like he'd be matched up with a wide array of U.S. Survivor players. I haven't seen all the international seasons. I haven't seen this up until this point is the only international season I've seen so far. So I can't speak on anyone else. But if there was any one person from this season that I think should be on like a battle of the survivors, I think it would have to be Luke.
Yeah, 100%. And, you sort of touch on this a little bit. We don't see a lot of modern players, or at least maybe the show doesn't focus on that much over in the US anymore, but you don't see a lot of players still going out there and being the triple threat, like I called him on the podcast with Jark Berger, where he's going out there, he's catching fish, he's he's involved in the strategizing, he's involved in winning challenges. And like he says, he goes hard. He doesn't hide behind people. He plays a very aggressive game. So I do feel in some ways his game style and how he plays probably suits the US a little bit more compared to a show like the Australian Survivor version, where there's 50 days in one of these shows, and you kind of run out of runway towards the end of the season if you're that visible. And we saw that with some of the best players or the biggest players in this season, with Janine sort of being made a target very early on in the season by Harry, David playing very aggressive from the start. A lot of these players, they sort of fall along the way. And in tradition, I know you haven't watched a lot of the Australian Survivor seasons, but it definitely suits your more under the radar players that can sort of bring the game to the forefront, deeper into the game, opposed to what we've seen with Luke here this season. But I think that if you had to look at this season, probably Luke I'd want to have in a season like that. I definitely would want to have David there, even just based on this season. Obviously, you haven't watched All Stars yet, which he has a pretty good game there as well, without spoiling it. But I think that he's another player that you'd have to have back in there. I just think with both of them probably in there, it could be a really big threat on that season. I'd love to see someone like a Pia play again. I'd love to see someone like a Janine potentially play again, but I don't know if those two ladies are really sort of, wanting to get back into the realm. They've both got pretty accomplished lives outside of the show.
They need to get back into the realm. I would love to see Pia as well in his international season, especially like you think too, like how many countries are we getting involved? If it's just American versus Australia, it opens up the door for a good number of people. But if you throw in South Africa, if you throw in New Zealand, or even get crazy and throw in, I know they have like a British version and like a Swedish version. They're a little more low key. Don't get a lot of viewers, but obviously the more countries you involve, the smaller the number gets to bring in. But if it is just like 2 or 3 and you have a chance to bring in a good array of players, I think Pia too would also be a great player. I mean, she knows what it takes to win, and only 7 people can say that in Australian Survivor. So
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other things with looking at the international shows, especially in Australian Survivor, being that 50-day sort of stretch, which is quite a long one if you really think about that. And I think we touched on
Yeah.
that with Jark a little bit, where he says, from day 30 through to day 36 or something like that felt like almost as long as I think he said day 1 to 10 is pretty quick. Day 10 to 20 is really slow. And then those last couple of days are even slower. I do feel like these guys are coming in with a little bit of a mental edge into an international season like that. And I also think that the physical side of things, the physical challenges that they're used to, do put them at a different level compared to what we see in a lot of international seasons. Not saying that we don't have the people that could do those physical challenges in other seasons, but it would be very interesting to see who gets home ground advantage if we were to ever have an international season, because that could have a massive impact on how the season plays out as well.
Yeah, well, see, that's one of the things I liked a lot. I'm glad we're talking about challenges, because I definitely wanted to touch on that. That's one of the things I personally really liked about this season. I think challenges were a huge part of. They were more of a part of the show. In like if you consider the split at heroes and villains, pre-heroes and villains, if we're calling that old school. I think there was a lot more focus on challenge in U.S. Survivor at that point. And nowadays, I feel like it's not as big a thing. I feel like people just want to see what's going on at the island. What's the strategizing? What idols are being found? In fact, to be honest, sometimes when I'm rewatching seasons, like binge rewatching seasons just for research and stuff, to be quite honest, sometimes I will skip over challenges, especially reward challenges. And I don't know if part of that is because Survivor started to realize, like, okay, our challenges are built for like the people who are physically more fit and more athletic to win. So it leaves a huge unfair advantage. So they switched to adding a lot more like puzzles and stuff like that. And now it's super puzzle heavy on US Survivor. So they kind of did a complete 180. What I liked so much about this Australian season is I feel like they found an amazing balance between like mental challenges, but also physical. But like, they also did the things where they, it wasn't everyone holding up the same weight. They adjusted it to your body weight, which I know they've finally started doing in US Survivor, or at least they've been announcing it. So I liked the challenges a lot in this season. I feel like you couldn't skip the Australian Survivor challenges, and they built a story around every story felt like it had a challenge, whether it was the Luke and Matt rivalry, or there was they also brought in things that happened outside of the challenges into the challenges. Like David versus Sean wasn't really a challenge rivalry, but when Sean found out it was a fake idol and they had the confessionals where it's like they're gunning for each other, then of course the next challenge they come head to head, and that it's like it all came full circle. It was just an amazing moment. You had the rivalries, you had comebacks, you had blowouts, you had ones that were like they were in the lead and they were in the lead and they were in the lead, and then they pulled away at the end. Like it had such a great mix of everything. And I don't know if that was how it went down. A lot of times the challenges will be edited to make them look a little more closer than they actually are, a little bit more tight. But I don't mind it, because I really enjoyed the challenges. I thought they were fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's 100% fine. We luckily we're talkers, so we just kept talking about the season and doing a bit of a retrospective while you were down here.
Dude, my phone, it said 20% left on my phone, and then like I reckon I only got like 10 minutes out of it, So yeah.
So here's the question: do you have an iPhone?
I do, yes.
Yeah, so I just got rid of my iPhone because same problem where it would go from like 30 or 40% and I'd be on the phone, and then next minute it would just completely die on me. So I finally, I've been an iPhone fan my whole life, but I'm Samsung now. I just had to make the change.
Wow. See, I've been Samsung for the last 5 years, and this is my first year of having an iPhone. So I've just jumped across, and I'm like, look, it has been not too bad, but it's like,
yeah. No, we really appreciate you jumping back on, and we sort of talked about the since we touched on the international aspect and sort of if you would be interested in doing one of those seasons, we said it would be interesting to see because we do feel like Australian survivors, you guys have got a few key advantages, so it'd be interesting to see who would actually get to host the show if there was a season like this ever happening, because you've got a 50-day season, which a lot of people are not used to, which mentally takes a lot more out of you. Jack Berger, who was on the podcast yesterday, said that from day 1 to 10 it feels really quick. From day 10 to 20, time starts slowing down, and it takes a really long time. And then he said, if you're past day 30, he's like, it feels like you've been out there for years. Just from a mental aspect in the show.
Yeah, it does. We I think we've both seasons we've said at the, I think it was the 32-day mark or something like that. We're like, if we were playing American Survivor, it would be finished right now. And we still, we've got a full camp still at that time. So, I wouldn't. Well, how am I supposed to know how it would feel if I haven't played it? But the 55 days, it does. We have some days that do drag a little bit, but you kind of, whether they're setting up production, they're doing something, but some days it feel like we're just, like we've already got set in stone what the plan is, and we're just hanging around for a day or two. But I wonder how they'd have to play a longer game. Surely you'd think if they were going to do an international version, you would think, unless it was just fast paced, super fast paced, and a lot of cameras rolling around 24/7. I did like, sometimes I feel like the longer game, you can actually set up a lot of plays a little bit, because whether you're talking about, you can just set up plays because you've got more time to, go over it back and forth, lay on the beach and be like, all right, this is what's happened, this is what's happened. Where, I don't know if you've found, but the American season, I think it was the Winners of War, some people were getting voted out, and it was like there was no backstory on how or what. It was just like, it's a blindside. It was like, wait, how is it a blindside? We didn't even see any setup or anything. The only blindside happened was the viewer got blindsided because we didn't know what the hell was going on, because you didn't show anything. With the Australian, it's like you see who's getting the credit. You see how the moves getting put together. You see who's getting talked to, but they give you multiple angles of storylines of how it can go, and then whoever gets the blind side at the tribal, you see who gets the credit, because we all high-fiving, or we don't high-five, you see the interviews afterwards. So I feel like the game's thought out a little bit better, which, that last game, I don't know, there was just a couple vote outs. I don't know. It just seemed like, what the hell just happened then? He wasn't even a target, and how did he get to go? Like, no one even talked his name in the whole episode.
Yeah.
So, and then that doesn't make sense. I actually feel like that's shit viewing, because you're like, there was no setup, to the move or the play or anything.
Adam, as the US person here, do you want to take a little bit of a stance on that? Because I've had the same argument whenever I've spoken to Adam about the state of the US show at the moment.
Yeah. Is that Adam the player?
No. So no, I was just saying Adam in the podcast. Yeah.
Adam the player. Okay.
So Adam, I think, has spoken to Adam a few times. Adam has done. He's done. I don't know if you've seen the Survivor Top 100 with the Russell Hahn show. He was involved in that, so he did get to talk to quite a lot of the Survivor players when he was doing that.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool, eh?
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I agree. I don't really have a defense for it. I agree, especially some of the pre-merge, the post-tribe swap, before pre-merge votes on winners at war, like Yule's vote out kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere. Nick's kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere. I think they're a little bit more time constricted with US survivors. So
that's how I look at it. If you've got less time to play, their scrambles straight after a challenge would probably be similar to ours, but it's the setups over the day or two that we get. We probably get an extra day or two of us being followed around, moves getting set up. and then the move's changing, and it's all in daytime, and then the nighttime. A lot of stuff goes on at nighttime that you wouldn't know. A lot of game, like the game. If anyone's listening and you're about to play Survivor, you sleep during the day, and you stay awake all bloody night, and you'll watch your game become. You'll get so much further in the game. If you play the game at nighttime than just sleeping during the day. It's legit. That is the recipe of playing good Survivor. But then again, the problem is that if you're going to play at nighttime, when you're getting you're having your conversations, you need to make sure that you're always being filmed, because then exactly what will happen is you at nighttime footage is shit footage because it's nighttime, and your conversations that you have with your plays might be bad footage, so they won't put it in. So if I sat there and me and you, Chris, are talking about what we're going to do at night, we've talked about it for 2 hours, and the cameras viewed us. Now they're not going to put 2 hours of convo in, but after we've summed up what we're doing, we'll have the cameraman and we'll go, all right, like, he can't talk to you. We're like, all right, let's nail this all down into 30 seconds. So you give them the clip that you want to do the move, because then if you land it, they've got that 30-second clip of how you're going to do it, and then they might play it in the game, because it's like we said it was going to happen like this. We smashed it in a 30-second clip for them, and the move happened like that. So then you will get the credit that you deserve for that move. You need to. That's what. There's another aspect to the game is being able to show them what your moves are. Most times they'll do confessionals, and they'll ask you what's going to happen tonight, and it's just you on the beach, and you'll be like, well, this is going to happen tonight at Tribal, which is good because it's in the daytime. Get your opinion. But still those conversations where you're actually having that conversation with someone and talking about the move, and it's not just you telling the camera what's going to happen, they need to make the storyline fit. But, yeah, look, American Survivor is still good. I think all of them are good. Like, I'm watching Philippines, South Africa right now, and I'm fucking hooked.
We've got Tom Swartz. We've got Tom Swartz, who played in that season, who's quite a controversial character, and obviously I won't spoil how that season turns out, but he's going to be on the show with us at some stage as well. So I'm really excited to talk to him on the show.
Yeah, he's pretty funny.
Definitely, like, South Africans have got some explosive characters, especially if you've seen season 7 as well, with Dante being in that season. He's quite an explosive character.
Definitely.
I think as fans, we really want to see that type of season, sort of play out. But one of the other questions I wanted to sort of ask you while we've still got you on here, as well as, with the All-Star season, firstly, when that sort of came out, I'm assuming you definitely would have gotten the call out as probably being one of the biggest stars in Australian Survivor, but that was quite close after playing this season, and probably timing-wise didn't sort of work for you. Were you a little bit gutted that you came back for this season and you didn't actually sort of wait and do the All-Stars?
Not because no, because my season turned out to be a bloody ripper, So if I had been voted out first, well, ask me that question, and then of course I'd say. But I had a lot of fun on my season with Dave, and when we got to see Dave become the man he is now, imagine if I just rolled up to All Stars and then I hadn't played with Dave now. I feel like it's so easy to say what could have been, but what if I was a part of the All Stars and it was just a bloody dud, and then it became a mateship season, or it became, a season where it was just there was no one willing to jump across, and I was just stuck in the mud, and I couldn't move. I feel like with our season, I could sit there and say to survive 2 sevens, it was just full of twists and turns. Anytime you can make jury, I think as a player is like a very like it's good. It's very good, you know.
It's not easy, you know,
No,
because
it's
everybody's
not
got their own agenda and everybody wants
no.
to play the game their way. So
Exactly, and do you know what? Just even for the soul, because you get to decompress after the game. If you make jury and you go, you know, you get to go back and talk to everyone about the games and stuff. So, and you get the full, you know, you get the individual challenge, you get the group challenges. So you get to have a bit of a taste of everything the actual game can offer. So. Yeah, I would never regret. Look, I would have went out there. To be honest, I would have run it back.
Yeah.
I would have run it back, but I had a sick daughter at home, you know, and I hadn't seen her, and she had a bit of a rough trot as well while I was playing. So, that was.
It made sense. I think that if you were a 3 times player coming back into that season just after having such a dominant performance in your current season, I think you would have been like the biggest threat. You would have been a bigger threat than David going into that season.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. But you never know as well, you know. You never know. You get out there and people do want to play with you. I just couldn't see it would be completely fucking selfish of me to do that, you know, and not even that, like it'd be selfish, and it would also be like I wanted to go and spend some bloody time with my bloody daughter and kids, like, you
That's
know,
fair.
like it was, yeah, like it was like. And, you know, and I know you get a lot of, like, what's it, like, opportunities come from being on TV, right? Whether it's charities, this, or doing, you know, like I did Talking Tribal, I did other things, but they were less time consuming than playing Survivor, you know? And I know that when I go on the show, I budget myself for the whole game. I'm not budging myself that I can't, like, if I make it to jury, that, oh my God, I've got to be back now because I have responsibilities. I'm budgeting because I'm winning this bloody thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going out to win. Like, I'm not coming out to come like 7th or 2nd. Like, I want to make it and win, you know? And if you're not going out there to do that, well, then why are you out there? You know, I'm not setting I'm not like some player that wants to go out there and get someone else to win. Like, I didn't want, like, as much as it was, Pierre to win. I didn't want Baden to win. I didn't want Harry to win. I wanted to win. So that's why Pierre, when she voted me out, respect, because it's an emotional fucking decision. And she pushed her emotions aside and be like, I got my own family, I got my own life to worry about. And and it's hard. It's really, really hard when you get put in that bloody moment, you know. But you know, you gotta go out there with the idea is I want to win this thing, you know.
So I do want to ask you, you know, being the popular player that you are, and I still think that, you know, a lot of people will say David's up there as well, but in my mind, I think you're still the people's champion, which is the more important title to have at the end of the day. I know you want to win the Survivor title as well. You know, how much life changed for you, I guess, just like walking around, being outside? Are people still recognizing you all the time? Like, you know, what has it been like to sort of deal with the Survivor fame? Because we talk to a lot of people, and Adam has spoken to a lot of people sort of in this realm. We had Rob Bentele on here not that long ago from Survivor South Africa. And, you know, he said that was quite something he wasn't used to, having people come up to him all the time and that type of thing. How has that been like, getting used to all the additional attention that this has sort of brought to you?
Yeah, look, it's pretty cool. You know, there's a lot of really, really nice people out there. And I've been caught up in a couple of little funny situations. Like, how's this, right? So I was on the train the other day, you know, and I was watching like Fast and the Furious or something, you know. I was listening to my headphones and stuff, and I get tapped on the knee, and this guy's like, "Oi, hey, this someone's down on the carriages is taking a photo of you," and I was like, "Oh, that's all right," you know. He goes, "No, he shouldn't be allowed. He shouldn't be taking photos of you," and he didn't know who I was, and I was like, "No, that's all right." Anyways, I looked down, and this guy that tapped me on the knee goes, "Oi, mate, what are you doing taking secret photos of this guy?" Like, starts yelling at him. And this guy's like, "Oh, hey, I've noticed him off Survivor." And I was like, I was like, yeah, no, that's all right. Like, it's all cool, you know, like, it doesn't bother me, you know, like, maybe he was a bit nervous to come up and have a photo, you know, or whatever, you know. And then this guy's like telling him off, like, nah, that's if you wanted a photo, you come up and ask him, you know. And then there's the whole train is fucking packed, right? And I'm sitting there like just trying to watch fucking Vin Diesel racing cars. And all of a sudden, this guy's like, "What's your problem anyway?" And he's like, and then other ladies start getting in it because they're obviously in the photo potentially, and they're like, "Well, I'm probably in the photo, so delete this photo." And he's got the other carriage. They're going at it. Like, there's a fight about to start. And I'm like sitting there like, yeah, so it has its moments, yeah. And I'm trying to calm the situation down. Like, I'm like, nah, it's fine, it's all good. And then telling old mate to calm down. And yeah, it was like, yeah, about to kick off because someone took.
So for once you weren't the person. For once you weren't the person creeping. You had someone else creeping on you.
Well, yeah. It's not like he had his camera phone on his shoe and he's trying to take a photo under my skirt or anything. Like, I was sitting on the train, you know, and he just took a photo. So it was, I have moments. I have fun. There's a few funny moments over the years of people.
Adam, I wanted to come over to you just to ask if there's any other questions you had for Luke here as well, because obviously, Luke, we want to make sure you get out there to spend some time with the family over Easter. You mentioned that you've got some people back there, so we don't want to take too much of your time, but it's been great definitely having you on here.
Thanks, Chris. Cheers, Adam. Yeah, hit me with a question, Adam. You've been awfully quiet over there. No.
Yeah, well, it's Chris's show. I'm a guest on this as well. Okay. So I wanted to give Chris his time to get his question for sure. But if I could ask one more question, kind of coming full circle and bringing it back to the season here is, how do you look from an outsider at Pia's win this season? Like if you could give it a grade or how well did she encompass, outwitting, outplaying, outlasting? Like from being out there playing with her and also watching it as a fan, what's your perspective on Pia's win?
Look, I think the one thing that Pia has, which people, I think you should hopefully see it, should have seen it as an outsider, but her very, very strong social game. She's like just easy, super easy to get along with. She's actually quite calculating. She's good with numbers, so she's able to work the numbers. And she doesn't overreact when it comes to being, backstabbed, blindsided. And there was probably even another thing when it came to there was a challenge where we had to jump from log to log to log, and I don't even think she was on my team at the time, but I was on the opposite team watching, and everyone could, move through it pretty quick. She struggled.
It was after the tribe swap, yeah.
Yeah, she had to jump.
That's the one Ross got injured in.
Yeah,
that's the one that Ross got injured in. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And she had to jump. I watched her do it about like 5 times. And, some people break down crying. Some people, she was like, when you've got to jump for a pole and you miss, and then you hit the pole with your legs or your shin or your, whatever. She just kept doing it. She kept trying, and that's all you can do in life is try, and I think that, she's an all-rounder. She reminds me of the, well, not the same, but like, Lisa from New Zealand that won it. Yeah. She's just like, she's like,
she's a student of the game as well, right?
Yeah,
she's a student of the game.
Yeah, like this little non-threat that can move around the game. Like Jericho as well. Do you know what it is? I feel like I've got because I'm kind of bigger boy. I feel like I've got a sweet for smaller people. Like I've got a sweet spot for small people because like Jericho, like I was like, he's my buddy, and I'm like Pierre was also my buddy, like, and anyone that's small, I seem like I've got a caring nature and I want to look after.
All of your friends win the show. So the winning strategy for anybody playing in the international version with Luke Toki is become Luke's number one ally. Everybody should want to be your ally so that they can hopefully win the show at the end of it.
They can all turn on me around number 5 or 6. That seems to be the go. But I think from an outside look, they give her a winning edit. They did give her a winning edit. you know, like they try to, you know, like, bring a lot of her like moments and strengths, you know, in our season, kind of put them on show. But like this, as I said, like this, the game's so long, you don't get to see all the tiny little things. You know, and you know, what if she, you know, maybe won a few immunities? I guess the one immunity wasn't like a win; it was more like a give. You know, it was a given one to her, but it's still like, you know, it's hard. It's hard for the smaller guys to win the immunities. You know, like unless it's, I guess, an endurance something or whatever. Like but it's also how you look at giving someone the game. Some people just, you know, did she catch a shark? No. Well, then she's not the Survivor champion. You know, did she not win immunity? Well, she's not a Survivor champion. But if you look at how well socially she is, well, she fucking smashes you out of the park because no one even wants to be around you. Like, you know, like, yeah, you can catch a shark or you can catch some fish, but you're annoying as hell. Like, there's so many different ways you can look at the game. And in the end, I think, well, she won every single bloody vote. So she's obviously done something, right?
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
You know, like she's obviously done, if you want to sit there and try to critique her, she's the only bloody winner, I think, that's in Australian Survivor that's won every single bloody vote. So unfortunately, she's the best winner there is. But how you look at it, you know, personally, I think probably Dave is, you know what I mean? But like,
she's one of only 4 winners, I think, around the whole show. Like if you look at international US, I think it's Jeremy, JT, Rob Bentele, and actually Rob Bentele didn't even get that many on his season, and then Pierre, it might be only 3 unless I've missed someone there that have actually done that. So it's pretty impressive. And Cochrane, that's the other person.
And that's like, that's exactly. So it depends how you look at it. How I look at it is in your overall game, you know. Like, you know, like that, like what can you do in the game that no one can claim credit for? You know, you could sit there and say, yeah, it was Pierre's move to get Dave out, but then again, it was like 9 to 10 people voted for Dave. 10 people. So 10 people voted for him. So you're saying that 9 other people didn't have a say and it was all you. Like, you know, you can sit there and look at that, or you can sit there and go, well, wait a minute, like everyone wanted it. You know, if someone says it, do they deserve everything because they just said it? You know, there's ways you can look at it. There's ways you can overanalyze it, underanalyze it. You know, it depends exactly what type of, you know, if you're also like, if you don't like the player or like the personality, whatever they do, you're going to be like, nah, shit, because I don't even like them. I'm not giving them credit because why would I give them credit? Because I don't even like their personality, you know?
100%.
But when you like the personality and they do a good move, then you're like, holy shit, that was the best. Like, oh my God, he deserves all the credit. Like, no one else deserves any credit. That's why when I did, you know, like the thing with Abby, I was like, no one can say they had a part in that. No one. I did it all. I did every single move of that thing. Like, not one person had an input. If anything, every single person that was in that tribal got blindsided. And to this day, it's like, well, I still did it. I worked out exactly how everyone was feeling, what everyone's emotions were like, where the alliances were, what everyone thought, and I worked it all in my favor to do one move that no one could say that I had any that they had any thought or, you know, knowing of. So that's where, if I did that and then did other ones, it's like, well, wait a minute, that's a good move. Then I done another move, then I done another move, and it banks up. So your resume is just so bloody good, and that's my issue, because I try to do so many good things, and then it get down to the end, it's like, well, he did that. You can't let him go forward because he'll use it against you at the end, you know. So it's just totally how you see it, how you think it. But when you're out there, she got 9 votes because she was the best, and that's all it is to it. You know, that's how the story's written. You know.
Now, Luke, I do have one last question for you before we let you go. You sort of talked about Talking Tribal, and you've done that in the past. Will we be seeing you back? Are you allowed to talk about that on Talking Tribal for the new season coming out?
Look, I'm not too sure yet. It's still early days. I'm pretty sure they're going out to film. Look, I would say in the next month or 2. I hope so. I hope I get to sit there and see some fresh faces and get to talk about it on the show. I like doing the last one. I hope we can just make it fun, make it engaging, because obviously a lot of people love to watch these after shows, read Reddit, read Twitter, all the accounts from people. I think it's everyone wants to know the backstories and the insights of every vote out, and I feel like there's a place for it. I feel like having a chat with multiple personalities, multiple game players, just like you're doing with me and others. I think there's I feel like there's a market for it. So if there's a market for it and if it makes money, it makes sense.
100%. No, we'd love to see you back on it. I'm a massive fan, and I will keep an eye on it. Obviously Adam over there is based in the US, so he has to wait a little bit longer sometimes before he gets to see these international seasons. But I'm over in New Zealand, so and I spend a lot of time in Perth.
There's illegal streams, bro? Adam.
There's ways to get your hands. There's ways to get your hands on it for sure. I thought about it because the company that I work for is it's an Australian New Zealand company, and their head offices is in Perth. So I fly over to Perth. I used to fly over to Perth quite a lot for work, and I thought to myself at some stage I just need to get myself an Australian address so I can start applying for the Australian show and get in on the action. But well, I'll ask you for tips if I do.
I'll text you my address afterwards, and you can say you just bunk with me, all right?
Yeah, that'll help for sure. Well, thanks, Luke. We really appreciate having you on. Is there anything that you want to sort of do a shout out there? Is there anything that you've got going, any projects and things at the moment that you want to make fans aware of, or social handles that they can follow?
Yeah, look, nothing much at the moment. I've actually just been quite, settling down into life over here. I haven't really been chasing too much with this new Survivor. Look, as I said, if Talking Tribal does get rebooted for another second season, I'm sure you'll hear about that. I'll be keeping you very aware as soon as I know, and I hope it is. And look, I really hope CBS and Channel 10 have something where it can just be accessed very easily, for South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, America. I feel like there just needs to be, they need to come together on this international season. Like there needs 100%. To be, yeah. I feel like there has to be some, they need to get all the hosts to sit down in the meeting, bring in some pizza and beer. They all have a chat, and then they all play. They all have to draw a rock on who gets to host it, just like we have to. If they all can't agree on a vote of who hosts it, well, they draw rocks, and let's run this into that international season up.
Yeah, no, I'm all here for it. Luke, it's been great having you on. Guys, if you're listening to this, we've got more content coming up like this with other South African survivors and hopefully more Australian survivor seasons, players and contestants coming up as well. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and be informed when we have more of this content coming up. And see you guys next time.